Hello everyone, it is already that time of the Genshin 5.5 beta cycle already, as 2 weeks have passed since Varesa and Iansan's initial beta kits were released, and typically during this time of the beta is when the most significant changes to character kits occur. So I was ready to see a lot of Varesa adjustments to damage values and Iansan nerfs because she seemed too good to be true as a 4-star. However, none of my expectations really came true this time around, as there weren't that many updates made to either Varesa's or Iansan's kits, and these may just be the final changes before both characters are officially released. So I wanted to quickly go over what changed in this video. The main changes for this beta cycle were made to Varesa. First, her base stats were slightly changed. Varesa's base defense was lowered, but she now has a little higher base attack, great for an attack scaling carry like Varesa. Next, Varesa had some of her motion value decreased. Both her charged attacks and skill damage, whether unbuffed or buffed by her fiery passion state, have had their multipliers lowered. Even though most of Varesa's damage did come from her plunges, she did need to use both her charged attacks and skill to actually perform the plunges, so they did make up a non-negligible part of Varesa's damage. To compensate for these multiplier nerfs, both of Varesa's combat passives were buffed. First, her A1 used to give plunge damage bonus for her plunges, more if she's under the fiery passion state. Now, instead of giving damage bonus, it simply just increases the raw multiplier of the actual plunges, 60 motion value for a normal plunge and 150 motion value for a plunge in fiery passion. Since Varesa's C1 is directly related to this A1 passive, C1 has also been changed accordingly. In addition, her A4 passive now gives a bit more attack whenever Night Soul Burst is triggered. The goal for these changes was to shift more of Varesa's damage into her plunge attacks. One of the most interesting results from Varesa's pre-release TC is that although there is a new artifact set releasing in patch 5.5 that is made for Varesa to buff her plunge damage, it is not drastically ahead of other sets according to early calcs. One reason for this is because the new artifact set buffs only plunging damage, but Varesa does still do damage with her charge attacks and skill, making the universal buffs of Obsidian Codex valuable even if the 2-piece doesn't have full uptime. So these Varesa changes do shift a little bit more power into that plunging set. However, even with these most recent changes, Obsidian Codex is still very good on her. In Chen teams, the new plunging set is a bit better than Codex, but Codex is actually looking slightly ahead in Chevre's Overload teams. Overall, these changes were a buff for Varesa's damage. How much was she buffed? Depending on the theory crafter, you'll get some variable results due to different assumptions made in calcs, but it is generally agreed upon that it is just a slight buff to Varesa. From what I've read, it's a 3.5% damage increase in Chevre's Overload teams and a 1.2% damage increase in Chen teams, or if you want to simplify things, it's just an overall 1 to 2% buff to Varesa. Obviously, this doesn't change anything about Varesa's builds or best teams. The differences between the new plunging set and Obsidian Codex are still relatively the same, and her best teams are still looking like Chevre's Overload or Shen plus Farina, but a buff is still a buff. Now, Iansan was the one character I was really expecting big changes for. A new 4-star character that can match Bennett in strength? Surely that's not staying in the game, and Iansan is getting nerfed. But she didn't receive any changes this week, only updates to ability descriptions. In fact, the biggest news for Iansan is that both hers and Varesa's birthdays have been added. If you still aren't familiar with Genshin betas, typically when a character's birthday is added, their kit is overall finalized and there likely won't be any more major changes to their kit. It's definitely surprising that both Iansan's and Varesa's kits are looking to be close to done, with a couple of weeks of beta left to go. They did do the same for Mizuki, but she was a standard character and there was Chinese New Year, so it is interesting to see this happen again. Of course, they could also change the values of artifact sets or weapons, but assuming Iansan and Varesa themselves don't change massively, they're both looking to be strong units on release, continuing the trend of natlan power creep in Genshin. But of course, nothing about Iansan and Varesa are officially confirmed, so we'll just have to wait and see if there are any additional changes before their release. I hope this short update and analysis video was in any way helpful. If you enjoyed, don't be shy and like the video or sub to the channel to be informed about all the upcoming news about any major Genshin beta updates, as well as pre-release guides and explanations for any upcoming Genshin characters. And with that, I hope you all have a wonderful day.